Hey everybody, Nick here, just letting you know you're actually listening to part 2 of our Spirit of Vengeance discussion. If you want to hear how we got here, be sure to check out last week's episode. Otherwise, we hope you enjoy another episode of Heroic Efforts.
Hey Nadia, I hope you have finished shooting at me.
Do it.
I can still see the lights! That's gross.
Oh, we'll get into that towards the end of the episode, but yeah, holy shit. Like, I miss Ghost Rider so much, and this is what I mean when I say that. This is the kind of shit I miss. Not fucking boring cinematic universe setup bullshit.
Well, I love the fucking small detail of where she's like, John, are you okay? And he turns around and his like eyes are going all black. And he's like, we gotta go. We gotta go. And he like turns around and you see like flames starting to come up his arms. And he just knocks the guy out of his way. And the guy catches on fire. It's so awesome.
We gotta go.
Hey, rocks.
And then that gets to him on the freaking motorcycle with the big green screen behind him, just screaming and head twisting and flying everywhere. And then we get the big like action scene that you guys were talking about. Yeah. And then we get another boring scene where he's in a restaurant with the kid and like
a literal diner, like to go back to your point, like the boring ass diner scene before we have like the slaughterhouse film.
yeah, because they just rented it. They spent $2,000 to rent this for 2 hours so that he could have a bonding scene.
They went to the one Burger King in Estonia.
Yeah, and there's this part where like he sees like his dad like bonding with his kid, so he just sits down with this kid that he met like 2 seconds ago.
So it's touching
and
his
then
head.
He's just like awkwardly he like rubs his face, and the kid's like, "What?" And he's like, "There was a bee. I thought it might." In your face.
Your face.
He's just like, this is some fucking Nicolas Cage Kino right here. Because he's just like, because it's just the look on his face is he's just like so dead-eyed. He's like, it might sting your face. And then they're just like on like a tow truck for like 10 minutes.
The beautiful thing, and this is someone like this is for people like if you haven't watched a Nick Cage movie in a long time and you're just going off the memes, I gotta tell you, he gives his heart and soul to every damn movie he is in. So when he looks dead-eyed on the inside, it's not because he's not caring, it's because that's his goal for the character, is to be just completely removed and dead on the inside. It's beautiful. That is a thespian right there. Like I said in the last episode, thespian Nick Cage.
Damn right. Give
exactly.
my man his props, bro.
God bless him.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
you know what, Francis Ford Coppola, you should have him in Megalopolis if he's not in there. Damn it.
Reshoot it, damn it. I know you're spending your own money on this. Reshoot it. Sell a couple more cases of wine and get him in there.
Get your damn nephew in there, you bastard.
Yeah, but then so they're like on a tow truck, and then there's like a little bit of an emotional scene where he's like these bad things, they're part of us, but they don't define who we are. Now, when I pee fire, and that's not just because I've been having sex with people.
It's not just because I've been having unprotected sex or gooning too much and not drinking enough cranberry juice.
This isn't because I don't pee after I goon.
I talked to my doctor.
I pee fire because
they say it's a UTI, but I think it's the devil.
Yeah, that's exactly what all the high schoolers in the audience that watch this movie also use as an excuse.
Right.
Then we get that awesome shot, I think, while he's explaining this story, where like it's just like a cutaway that they use the hell out of the marketing for, and it's just him just pissing fire as Ghost Rider.
And he like turns around and he like gives like a thumbs up. He's like,
It rocks. I love it.
Is it just me, Or is it like, and this is sort of unreal, but is it that kid and that mom, like, they're pretty weak, right? Like, I don't mean to like criticize like a child actor, but that is like a pretty weak
yes, but I will give the child actor this. He's doing a pretty okay American accent for being a Spaniard, so pretty good, honestly.
For me. The super close-up shot of his face, he's like, now let her go. And like, grow, like they do a little bit of ADR.
Yeah.
And then
now the mom, not a great actress, but those piercing blue eyes, man.
Well, yeah, and then there's a Grindhouse movie, so that's all you need.
Yeah, that's all you need, baby.
You know, he ain't making Megalopolis. So then they get like a little bit of like thrown in like motorcycle stunts, just like a Grindhouse movie where they're like, we're just going to cut away to something cool for 5 minutes to like keep your attention that has nothing to do with the plot.
And I'll just say, like, hey, if you ever have 90 minutes to burn, not just on watching this movie, watch the behind the scenes making of documentary. It's actually really good, really informative, and really cool because you get to see like what goes into making a $50-something billion superhero movie on no money. And you just get to see like, because they're filming as they go this documentary, and it's just like you see all the fuck ups that happen. It's not like this bullshit where it's just like an hour, just like, oh, I really wanted to do this movie because, you know, it speaks to me as, you know, as a filmmaker, as a creator. It's none of that like fucking corporatized bullshit. It is quite literally like, what the fuck are we going to do? We're running out of money. We have to finish the shoot by tomorrow. What are we doing? And one of the greatest parts is like you get to see like Neville Ian Taylor just go fucking ham insane and like get on fucking roller skates. And during this specific like motorcycle fucking just little like side thing, they're like fucking have little skates on their feet. They're holding the camera and filming the fucking motorcycle from the back while it's going at like 70-80 miles an hour.
It's genuinely inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like,
you guys can drag me behind the car any day.
Don't worry, we will.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most definitely.
Either for a movie or just like, because we're sick of you by the end of a production. It's okay.
Yeah, when we get our $50 million to go film in like Romania, and we have like 1 week to shoot it, and half our budget went to like the main star, and he's doing like Looney Tunes shit, then we're gonna be like, all right, Andy, strap on the blades.
Strap on the blades.
First off, I'm gonna be like, why are we using rollerblades to film a question movie, and also why are we filming this in Romania?
And action.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter.
And put the Chevy in drive.
You're right.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, okay, don't forget they end up at the fucking monastery.
Wait, and he's like, let's recenter ourselves. How the fuck did we get to the monastery? So they have all this bullshit happens, and then like light skinned Idris Elba shows up, and they bring him to like the monastery with like Jesus wine. I don't remember what happened.
Yeah, he just shows up. Hey, Monroe.
He's like, I've been following you, Johnny boy.
Johnny boy.
Johnny boy.
The check for this week cleared, so I'm back in the movie. Like,
you have me for 5 more hours, Johnny boy.
Yeah. He's like, I have a Ridley Scott movie coming out this summer, so I don't need to give a shit. Like, so then they get to the monastery, and like Nicolas Cage is like, oh, they're gonna protect Danny. How are they gonna do that? They don't even have shoes. Like, it's like that's an actual line. And then and then he's like. Then the kid's like, no, I don't want to go with them. I want to stay with Johnny, this guy I've known for like 10 minutes.
57-year-old man.
He touched my face and he told me about his urinary tract infection. I want to stay with him.
Yeah. Yo, while my mom wasn't around.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a big sting operation. They just like arrest him. It's just drops the accent.
Chris Hansen just takes the hood off, and he's just like, "So what did you mean by it's a B?"
Why don't you have a seat right over there?
Have a seat right over here, Johnny.
So then Idris Elba and Nicolas Cage go down into like some overlit cave that they had access to.
It's the catacombs. The catacombs.
Yes, it looks nice. There's a genuinely good joke where he's like, oh, we're gonna have like communion, and then he like takes it and he's like, you've been carrying this bread around a while, haven't you? That's a good joke.
Yeah.
And then there's a good moment where he's like, well, tell me something you've never told anybody else. He's like, well, there was this young boy. No, but it's like he's like, tell me about something you've never told anybody else. And he's like, I didn't save my dad for him. He's like, I did it for me.
No.
And I'm like, you know what? I bet Mark Steven Johnson wrote that line. Like, I bet that was like the one contribution he had. And so, but then he like goes into another part of the catacombs and then like gets exorcised from the Ghost Rider, and the Ghost Rider like throws up chains.
Yes.
Well, he's like, okay, he's just like laying on the ground screaming because that's all they had like the production money for. But he like screams. I still remember in my mind, it's emblazoned where he screams, "Merry Christmas, you asshole!" Like, and it just comes Ghost Rider throwing up chains. Yeah. I'm like, this is incredible.
It's so great because the Ghost Rider, like him throwing up chains, is like in this blank nothingness void, which basically just means the VFX artist just got their Ghost Rider model, just made it go crazy for like 10 seconds, and like, there's the scene, we're good.
Yeah, it's that same place Squidward ended up in, like that netherworld, like when he was time traveling. Like, it's like alone. Yeah, Ghost Rider's throwing up chains in the background. So yeah, we got to get through the plot for this because there actually is no plot, but like he basically. The monks are bad guys. They're going to kill the kid, but then Blackout shows up. The Blackout's transformation sucks because he's like, you will become Blackout, and he like touches him, and then he just goes like underneath like a rock, and you just see him like, and he like comes out like. That's just it. He's like, I'm giving you the power of decay.
Oh, go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to say this, it's something we didn't touch on in the first film too much, but it's very similar. Again, one of the weird few connections to this film. The devils in this, the devil villains seem to have a habit of like fingering people and just like giving them like powers. Like, Blackheart in the original film, he like, I gave him the finger, and he just gives them like, makes them all blue and weird. And then Hines in this one, he just like, I'm going to give you the finger. And then he just starts, poking people in the chest, and all of a sudden he's like turned to Rotman. Like it's very weird choice for like specifically doing that.
Strong hand.
I'm gonna give you the bad finger.
Bad finger. We also should mention, because he dedicated a week of his life to this movie for some reason, Christopher Lambert's one of the monks.
Yes.
The Highlander himself.
Oh my God.
Raiden from the 90s. He's in here, man. And apparently, I learned this in the documentary, he was like half blind when they shot this movie, so they had to...
What?
I have a different Christopher Lambert trivia question. Like, I didn't know he was half blind.
Yeah,
that makes it even funnier.
That's why he's not in a lot of movies anymore, is because unfortunately he does have a vision issue, pretty much from the 2000s onward. Yeah, well...
Then it's not funny. I thought it was like some Bob Costas thing where like they were in like Romania and he got like some severe pink eye or something. Okay, then it's not funny. But
well, yeah, he can't see very well, but he was still able to do like the whole fucking sword training and everything while being partially blind. So you know what? Badass, absolutely.
That's the trivia I had, where it's like, oh, Christopher Lambert shaved his head, underwent all these hours of makeup, and went through like 3 weeks of sword training. I'm like, does he even use a sword in this movie? I'm like, for what? Like, he just holds it above the kid's head and is like gonna kill him. And then like, he went through 3 weeks of sword training. He must have just wanted to do sword training, and he's like, I'm going to do it on Sony's dime.
Right. You know what? They were probably going to film some action sequence where he fights the monks or something, and then they're like, we have like a week left of shooting and 20 scenes to film. We have to go.
Yeah. Nicholas, I have 63 scenes to shoot tonight. All right, fine.
All right, fine. God damn, it's cold.
Merry Christmas, you assholes. So they kidnap the kid again, and then Johnny Blaze, he's like, well, I have to save the kid because then I'll never be able to live with myself, even though my curse has been lifted. And then he just like rides into the third act of the movie.
Yeah.
Like it's so brisk. Like it's so he gets there and they're like Oh, go ahead.
Say, we can't forget, like, and this has stuck with me every time I like watch this film. So when they're in the monastery, just to wrap this shit up real quick. So like, yeah, they're the monks are plot twist. They're actually like, betraying them, and they're gonna kill Danny or whatever. And then Rotman shows up, and Rotman shows off his powers in like one scene. It's very lame. Everything blacks out because his name, right? Blackout. Everything blacks out around the monk, and then. Yeah, exactly. They had no budget for like actual effects, and then he like turns one of the monks into ash or whatever the fuck. But then Idris Elba, who again is only in this movie for like 10 minutes tops, he shows up trying to like save Danny, and then the Rotman grabs him, and then he like do you guys remember the one liner he has before he goes?
Still see the light.
just some random
slow.
Yeah,
because it's Idris Elba.
Exactly. So they're like decaying him in like some like pretty goofy looking like CGI, and he pops off that one liner, and then he's just like dead. He just like turns into like mush or dust or whatever.
Blackout.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. While he's turning into mush.
Gets him in his
Yeah,
mouth.
like he turns into ash. Like you literally see it, Blackout go like, ugh, and then there's like a beat, and then he goes like, and he just like wipes it all off. It's just like, you're like, wow, like what's? And they have like maybe
Very
15
unsanctimonious.
yeah, they have maybe 15 extras to stand around them, and then they like literally have like extra lights that they probably didn't need that day that are just like in a circle.
Oh, thank
like,
you for reminding.
like,
So, okay, those fucking lights are so fucking funny because you could tell in the post production they were just like, we got to have some lights break. Pew pew. They threw little light popping effects, but they didn't actually break the lights, probably because they needed them for filming.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So like they have that scene where like he's talking to his son, the devil, and he's just like, well, he's like, he has a good line where he's like, imagine a flamethrower made out of paper mache. Like, that's pretty good.
The way he says
so
he's imagine a flamethrower made of paper mache. Who pronounces it that way?
Do you want to do another take? No, let's just go. No, he won't even stand up for this movie. If you think he's going to pronounce it differently.
You pull the camera back. He's just in a chair leaning forward towards the kid.
Yeah, exactly. So then Johnny Blaze shows up. He's like, no, Idris Elba died. Oh no. He gets to go home. He gets to go home 2 weeks earlier before I do. And so like,
get your hands off him, Satan. That's my little boy.
So then the little boy is like, I have every power he has, right? And he's like, I guess. And then he's like, and he just like runs up to Nicolas Cage and like throws up fire on him. And then the devil is like, oh, but it's like, you couldn't have stopped. You're still the devil. Like,
don't forget all the Illuminati people who were doing their chant and they
we can't. Yeah, it's very funny. We're talking about like making jokes about like Johnny Blaze being like a fucking pedo, and then they're showing up to like Alex Jones like nightmare of just like Illuminati and all these like goofily like hooded like billionaires and like world leaders and whatnot, all doing this like devil worship and shit, like they're eating babies type beat over in like Turkey in some random coliseum they found.
Yeah, they show up to the set of Eyes Kinda Shut. Like that's it's just like, so we shouldn't make fun of it too much because whenever we make our independently produced Lovecraft movie, that's probably what the cult scene is about going to look like. Right. Like we're going to have like 15 of our friends and put them in like cheap Party City robes and just be like, all right, you're cultists now.
Oh my god. We found some vacant fucking theater area out in the middle of nowhere in Slovenia. Let's try it out.
Yeah, exactly. We're just so anyway, like he throws up fire, he gets to be the Ghost Rider again, and then there's the Mad Max scene that's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he like fights Blackout on the hood of a car. It's like okay. Yeah, Blackout like touches like the windshield and it like starts to like crack and everything. I'm like, I thought it was only like biological material, but whatever. Who cares?
Not Twinkies.
Ghost Rider 2.
Not Twinkies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so like he's gonna grab the lady with the good eyes who can't act. Like she's like.
I will say so, the powers are very cheap looking, but I will say like the visual of him like leaping out of the darkness to attack the Ghost Rider was pretty cool. And then I mean
that is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. That's a unique visual to work with what you have. And I will say that like it's very funny to me that the way they just kill him is he does the pendant stare at him and just throws him under the fucking truck. He's like, because it's like you have this whole fucking film with this goddamn guy berating him throughout most of the movie, and then he just throws him aside like fucking nothing, basically.
And he's roadkill, which is right out of like a grindhouse, like a 70s movie.
And they use that in the trailer too, because also it's got Nick Cage going that raspy whisper, roadkill. It's great.
Yeah. Well, also it's good. The trailer is actually pretty awesome for this. People should go ahead and look that up because like it goes pretty hard.
Yeah, it does.
Like
Agreed.
Yeah, there's that great shot where he's like about to grab the lady, and then like Ghost Rider wraps his chain around him. And it's like all like you see it from the perspective, it's all black, and you just see him get sucked into the void, like pulled away from her. Like that's pretty cool. He's like throwing people up on a hood, and he like lands back down. Like that's a cool stunt.
Oh yeah, no, that's a great little bit. I will say like in the pre Mad Max Fury Road days and the post Thunderdome days, this was all I could do for Mad Max. So I was like, all right, this is Ghost Rider Mad Max. I'll fucking take it.
Yeah, as like a Mad Max head, like this was as close to what he got before George Miller came back and blessed us with Fury Road. So honestly, that's like a big reason why this movie still holds up really well in my mind, because like you just didn't get films that could do like sequences like that. Again, this kind of almost down and dirty kind of like grimy bar fight kind of way. Like that's just the whole feel of it. It's why we say it's a Mad Max kind of vibe to it, because it's just like everything about it, from like the way that the vehicles look and the effects of everything, and then as they're like jumping between them, it's very visceral. Like in a lot of other movies, scenes like on car fights, like car chase fights, are cut very fast. You don't really get a lot of time to see the action. It's just kind of like at most you have a guy like roll down the window, let off a few rounds of like a gun, and then like they cut away to it, and then maybe have like an inside shot of like someone in one of the vehicles. But this one, motherfucking Ghost Rider's jumping around. He's like on his bike. He's like jumping on top of hood of cars. He's like throwing motherfuckers off of cars into cars. People are getting like run over. Like you actually see their bodies get fucking like hit by the tires. Like it's badass. It rocks.
I love the fucking Wilhelm scream where he comes onto the one truck and he just stares at the guy. The guy is just like and leaves, and they do the Wilhelm scream. Fun fact: that stunt actor broke his leg doing that fall. So.
Damn commitment,
right? I will say, like, okay, for audiences who weren't aware of, like, put this in a time and place. This is like pre John Wick. This is pre like the action renaissance we are in right now. So it's like you got to remember, like, your action movies were either really bloated CGI festivals of like just excessive, like how many laser beams can we shoot up in the sky? That was kind of it. You didn't have like the down and dirty fucking just seeing fists colliding and people fucking just getting thrown off of trucks. Just the most simplest, coolest stunt that you can think of. They weren't doing at the time. This is like where it's like the last cool truck stunt you had was Nolan flipping the fucking truck in Dark Knight, and that was it for like 5 years.
The standard for action movies was The Expendables. Just keep that in mind. Yeah. Like those were the action movies that we were getting.
Yeah, it was in the gun.
This one is very kinetic. It's very kinetic, and it's very like low down in the mud. You know what I mean? Like that's just one of the reasons why I think it works so well.
Absolutely. So just to think of that time and place where it's like, I think this is why this movie resonated with me so much, because it's like, it's ironic that it is like the defining action movie of that period of like, just like not very many good action films at all, when it is the sequel to a movie whose action scenes were pretty terrible. That's great. Yeah. That's just perfect. I love the way the world works sometimes. So, okay. One thing we should establish for lore reasons is that apparently the Ghost Rider is not a demon, but it's an angel trapped by Satan.
Yes.
Can't forget that.
Yes. So I think was that in the intro, or is that an exposition jump they did later on?
That happens in the scene where they do the exorcism, I think.
Okay. Because they're giving like the origin of like of the spirit of vengeance being like an angel brought down to hell, chained up, and then Satan like made it like watch all of the sins of man.
You pronounced it wrong. It's spirit of vengeance.
My mistake.
Yeah, so that's part of it, and that's what turns him blue at the finale, basically. Do you want to take that, Andy?
I mean, just the ending of the movie. I mean, they flip a car.
They flip a car.
Yeah, and then he's like, and then he just screams in the devil's face, throws him up in the air, whips him down. And when I was a kid, I thought this was the most badass line, where he's like, "Go home," and then you see like a very, very poorly CGI'd Ciarán Hinds just burning alive. Which is like, doesn't he thrive in hell? Like that's my whole like, isn't that his domain?
Well, I think
throwing him back down.
I have to don't make me explain the lore of this fucking movie. I think the idea is like, okay, he chose to be in this body because he was supposed to take over the body of Danny. I think that was the idea. Like they were going to transfer, his soul's going to transfer over into Danny's body. So he's stuck in this puppet form. So when it's destroyed, that's it. He's done. So I think he kills the devil at the end of the movie, which, I mean, to pair that up with the first one, okay, fine.
This is the end of the Ghost Rider saga, everybody. Danny dies, and then the lady comes out and she does her best to convince us that she's sad.
Yeah.
She's not a very good actress. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but it's really, really bad. And then he's like, the angel, the rider. He said he was an angel.
Like you touch him.
He's like, hey, let me get my bony fingers, and I'm gonna touch. it's so quick too. Like he's like, yeah, it was an angel. Here's this poorly CGI. Like the Ghost Rider looks great, but that hand looks like shit. And he like,
yeah.
Well, in all fairness, I was watching this on DVD, so maybe that has something to do with it.
No. It looks like shit.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'm just gonna touch this little boy, and then he comes back to life, and then he's like, did we win? And he's like, hell yes, zooms in on his
no. He goes, did we win? He goes, yeah. Hell yeah. Cut to credits.
Yeah, it snap zooms in on him. And he's like, well, yeah. No. It doesn't cut to credits. Right. It cuts to him. And he goes, I'm Johnny Blaze. I'm the Ghost Rider. And then it just cuts to credits. I'm like, oh, there's nothing more profound than that. Like, there's no
Hey, you know what? The same way Aquaman 2 ends with Jason Momoa going, I'm Aquaman. Yeah! And that's the end.
both just completely unremarkable ways to end a character's story. It's so funny because it would have been better if they just had him say hell yes and then cut to credits.
Right.
I spent 10 years thinking that's how this movie ended. I'm like, I forgot there's an extra 15 seconds of him being like, I'm Johnny Blaze. I'm the Ghost Rider. I'm like, I knew that.
Just so you don't forget what movie you're watching.
Just explain the premise of the movie in the last 10 seconds of it. Thank you.
I think at one point when I had watched this movie, I did watch it with the audio commentary, and it was basically Neville Dean and Taylor both going yeah, so he killed the devil, and I think they said we were pretty much just done with the movie at this point. We're we should just end it here, and they're like, oh, we gotta do the rest of this plot stuff, so they threw it in at the end, and they're just just get to credits as soon as you can, because we killed the devil, you can't go any further than that.
See, it's funny that you had mentioned Andy, that Mandela effect that you swore that the movie ended on where it should have, where he's like, yeah, hell yeah, because that's how I felt up 2 minutes earlier about when he tells the devil go back home. I swore to God for years I was he tells him go back to hell or go to hell. That's in my mind, that's what he tells Hines' the character. But then in the actual movie, just go back home or some shit, and I'm just oh, okay.
Go home. Go.
Well, to be fair, the devil says the F word. The devil says worst fucking deal of my life. So maybe if they had said go to hell 30 seconds after that, it would have gotten it an R rating or something. You know how the MPAA is.
That's what it landed in R rating.
I just want to say, okay, the two great fucks of the early 2010s was Wolverine and X-Men First Class telling them go fuck yourself, and then Karen Hines going worst fucking deal I ever made, because he says it was such venom.
Worst fucking deal I ever made.
It's pretty good. It's a pretty good delivery.
Yeah. And then that's the movie.
Yeah.
That's Spirit of Vengeance, everybody.
There's no post-credit scene.
Nope.
There was hardly any fan art on Google Images in 2012 editing him in with the Avengers.
Yep.
There was nothing. It was over, and I think Nicolas Cage was like, oh, I think I'm done with this character. I've done everything I want to do with this character. And I'm just okay. It's the saga of Johnny Blaze. Ends with him little boy and crazy eyes.
you just have to assume, because
explaining the premise to the audience.
It's the same way where it's you can, if you really try hard, you can connect 2003 Hulk to Incredible Hulk. I do connect this to the first one, so I'm just gonna imagine at the end of the movie he goes back to the United States and gets balls deep back into Eva Mendes, and that's the end for him, and he's happy.
For him.
Well, yeah,
good for him.
For him.
Yeah.
Because honestly, who wouldn't, brother? Who
Right.
wouldn't? Took a little detour in Estonia, come back, he's like, baby, I love you.
Baby, I love
I'm ready to be with you. I'm done touching little boys overseas.
I know I'm 60 years old now and you're still 35, but we can make it work, baby.
I'm Johnny Blaze. I'm the Ghost Rider. And she's like, I know that. I know who you are. I'm like, you don't need to explain it
Just
to
has
me.
dementia now.
He does it every time he finishes. I'm the Ghost Rider. Yeah, I know, honey. Let's just, I gotta clean up.
His nut.
Let me get you a towel.
His nut face is him doing the motorcycle part. He's like that. His eyes popping.
Yeah, he's shooting fire out of his nose. this is so much better than gooning. Why did I wait 65 years to start having sex again? So critical reception, not good. It's got like a pretty bad Rotten Tomatoes score. Everyone thought it was bad. They're all wrong. $149 million box office. We already talked about that. There was no Ghost Rider 3. It ended the Marvel Knights line. I think this would be the most interesting thing to talk about. Like, what could have been of the Marvel Knights line had they not, like, made Punishment Warzone as their first movie again. And then followed it up with this.
Well, let's do this. Because I feel like you guys are more knowledgeable on what the potential like Marvel like Knights or like a Midnight Suns could have been. So I'll give my perspective on what I think a Ghost Rider 3, had they kind of like stuck with it, would have been, just briefly. And I'll throw it to you guys for what you think, like if they would have kept with this series of properties under the Marvel Knights banner, like what that could have turned into. So for me, real quick, Andy already mentioned it at the top of the show, but it's a very, look, I understand it's kind of like cliche to say, but like genuinely, if you were to mix the good of both of these films, because again, they're very heroic efforts as films in that they are really rough diamonds, you know what I mean? They have some really great aspects to them, but they're held back in a couple different ways. But I think if you combine the strengths of both these films, i.e. taking the Johnny Blaze of the first film and then mixing it with the Ghost Rider of this film, while keeping it a grindhouse, like the same grimy aesthetic and kind of like tone and in the mud kind of energy that this film had, I think if you would have kept that, so just make it a slightly more high budgeted grind house film, I think that would have been amazing. Just give me like my ideal Ghost Rider film is what the I think potential Ghost Rider 3 could have been, which is in vein or I guess in the same way that as we talked about in the first episode, the original Ghost Rider films were kind of like a Western where it's just a man like, going from like place to place, town to town in like some desert, I think if you would have just done a Man with No Name style motorcycle Western with Johnny just fucking around somewhere in some arid like kind of state, like the backwoods of Texas, basically. If you would have just had him doing that and then going from town to town with like supernatural shit happening, and he just gets into like fights with like random like supernatural creatures and shit like that, while still keeping it this kind of like dusty and low down kind of like drifter. If he was just like a motorcycle drifter, I think that would have been like honestly really, really cool. Like set up a simple plot, because it's Ghost Rider doesn't need to be complicated, and then just have him doing all the like cool action sequences of this film, have him, and then just play up a horror angle. If that could add any element to it, I'd have it be more of a horror movie when he turns into it, to really go full balls to the wall of the aspect that Nicolas Cage loves so much about the character, where he's like a monster, have him do his like Looney Tune shit, but maybe closer to the first film, where he gives it more of a genuine kind of like Wolfman-esque transformation versus this like The Mask, that he does in this one. So I think if they would have done that, or if they could have done that for the third film, I think that'd have been not only really successful, but just a genuinely great way to represent this character. But that's my idea for like a potential Ghost Rider 3. What if they would have kept with the Marvel Knights banner of movies? What do you think they could have done? Like Midnight Suns, other characters? What do you guys think?
You want me to go first, Martin?
You can go for it. I got a couple ideas, but I want to hear what you got, Andy.
Okay, so as far as just how we would follow up this film, right? Okay, so ideal Ghost Rider 3, had this been a success, I love what Nick just said. We would do like a very, very small scale, like backwoods town of Johnny Blaze, the monster aspect. I don't know, bring in maybe Damien Hellstrom, like the son of Satan or something, and he's helping him work through his satanic, role, and make it very... I mean, obviously we'd want it to be R-rated, but you would just make it into a straight-up horror movie. Like, that's what it would be. Like a very long, like a feature-length episode of The Incredible Hulk show that's R-rated in a horror movie. That's what I would do. In the post... like release of this movie, obviously they were never going to do a third one of these. So if they were like, okay, we just want another Ghost Rider movie, I would just soft reboot with Danny Ketch. That's what I would do. And I would set it in New York. I would have it, be much more sort of stripped down and again, go with the horror angle. Now, as far as Marvel Knights goes, the one thing, I mean, because we got Nicolas Cage coming back as Ghost Rider in a Marvel Knights movie, I wish we could have gotten Ben Affleck coming back as Daredevil in an R-rated, like soft reboot sequel. How awesome would that be?
Yeah, I'd be totally down for that. We that is the unfortunate reality. We'll talk about that more when we talk about Daredevil 3, because there's a whole mess of things that happened in the release of that film. But yeah, Daredevil 2 would have absolutely rocked. A soft reboot of it in the Marvel Knights line would have been great. I feel like a Moon Knight project probably would have been a lot better than what we got had they done it like in the Marvel Knights, like gritty style. Yeah. There's a lot of characters in the Marvel world that would fit this line that they just didn't take advantage of. And unfortunately, it was a case of like the line itself got kneecapped because of the poor performance of Punisher Warzone. And then Ghost Rider 2 just doing pretty good at the box office, but bad critically, and then just kind of getting kneecapped as a franchise after that. Well, personally, I would have been totally fine with it. I wish they would have done a Ghost Rider 3, and I do think they should have done a soft reboot with Danny Ketch. I think that would have been the best way to go about it, rather than just giving up the rights to never be used again. I would have preferred that, honestly, and I do love the idea of a Midnight Suns film that has like Ghost Rider and Daredevil, or Punisher in it. Ray Stevenson's Punisher with fucking Nick Cage Ghost Rider and Ben Affleck Daredevil. That'd be pretty fucking rad. I'd be down with that.
I mean, think about it this way. This movie came out before James Mangold had even come out with his first Wolverine movie. Sure. So the only thing that was out was X-Men Origins Wolverine, which was bloated and way too expensive and everyone hated it. What if they did like a Marvel Knights Wolverine movie with Hugh Jackman that's a soft reboot, which is essentially what we eventually got to with Logan. Sure. Logan is the best case scenario of like what we all would have wanted from Marvel Knights. Absolutely. But that is like the best version of that. But
and hey, around the time when this movie came out, Wesley Snipes was out of prison, so you could have gotten him for Blade for Midnight Suns.
Oh yeah.
I would prefer that, honestly, to having to wait another 15 years for it. Yeah.
Moon Knight would have been perfect. Man Thing would have been a cool idea to do. Werewolf by Night, even though the Werewolf by Night they made is like amazing, but just take any Marvel horror character. I mean, hell, over there, like the viewers or the listeners obviously can't see it, but you guys, I've showed it to you. I have all 3 comic book appearances of the Bronze Age Marvel Scarecrow. Like, just do that. Like $10 million. Like, you make a Scarecrow movie. Yeah. Like, we'll make it. We'll make it now. Like, come on, you're not doing it.
It'll make like a $90 million because you spent nothing on it. Like, who? Just do it. Do the horror movie Blumhouse approach to some superhero cape shit stuff, because just why not? Let creators go wild on the shit for a little bit of money.
Yeah, and exactly. Like, you telling me you release a horror movie with the Marvel logo above it, like at the beginning of October, it's not going to make its money back? Right. Come on. But yeah, that's basically what we want from Marvel Knights. Just take any Marvel horror character, or even horror like adjacent, like I said, like Wolverine. Yeah. You could absolutely do a Marvel Knights version of. I mean, dude, honestly, like what the Josh Trank Fantastic Four was supposed to be could have been a Marvel Knights movie. Sure. And they could have just not expected it to become a blockbuster and let him kind of see it through to completion.
Yeah.
Having not done that.
Yeah, I also, like, on that kind of topic, more similar note at least, how do you guys feel because we kind of alluded to this earlier on, and I kind of want to, go back to that point that we put a pin in. Do we think this film was intended to originally be a R-rated film? And then separately but related, do you think this film would have been better had it been R-rated?
I'm going to say my knowledge of the producers that were involved in this film, I'm going to say probably was not intended to be R-rated. Simply because, I mean, these are half of these people are the same ones that did the Venom movies, where they were like, nah, PG-13, no R rating. So I feel like that's more likely the case. Now, would this have benefited from an R rating? I mean, possibly, but not financially, no. To make a better film, I honestly don't know, because I do think they have a good way of getting around it in this movie, which is, the fire shooting out of the bodies of the people that he slices in half with the chain. Yeah. I think it's a good workaround. It's not, you're not cutting away from the violence. The violence is still there. You're just replacing the blood with fire. It's how did Evil Dead 2 get an R rating at all? They made all the blood black instead of red. So it's workarounds to avoid the MPA giving you a death rating, basically. basically. And for 2012, an R-rated Ghost Rider movie probably would have done a lot worse, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree. As far as if it would have been better, I mean, we like blood and guts. We like extra violence, especially in a movie like this. Like, yeah, I would have liked to see this be even more violent, of course. But it's just, it's one of those things where it got caught in the sort of weird period where like R-rated superhero movies weren't doing well. I mean, again, this is the same year as Dredd.
Yeah.
Like, Dredd didn't do well at all, and it's an amazing movie. I mean, you know, we just spent however long talking about how great this movie is. Dredd is infinitely better than this, and it's still.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
So this is like it wouldn't have made any money. But as far as like the Marvel Knights things go, I wish they would have committed to that line a little bit more, because I think there's a lot of potential in that, especially if they went into it not expecting it to be blockbusters, especially like Punisher Warzone. Like they spent no money on it. They spent no money on this. And I was just thinking this as you guys were talking, just to slightly get back to Marvel Knights. You know, the perfect Marvel Knights movie, telling you right now, would be if they just threw money at Quentin Tarantino and said, remember that Luke Cage movie you wanted to make? Here you go. Like, it's not related to anything. It's not, you can do what you want. It is your own, and we will not give you one note. Like, that's my ultimate Marvel Knights movie right there.
That's always.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think I agree with you guys overall. I think, yeah, obviously it would have been better, not better, but it would have been even better, I would say, if we got more like visceral violence or more they leaned more into the horror stuff and they were able to play around with that if they had an R-rated film. But I think both from the financial success of the film, the R rating definitely would have hindered even more. And I think Marty made an excellent point that this didn't need it, unlike I would feel maybe something like a Venom movie, just because in those kind of film, or honestly, when you don't have a character like Ghost Rider where you can still show the violence like you said, but you can get away with it because it's like, you know, everybody that's supposed to be bursting into blood and guts is just like bursting into flame and embers, you know what I mean? And it still fits within it. Doesn't feel like jarring or that they're hiding too much doing it like that. Whereas if you take a character like a Venom or Carnage, and like when, you know, we'll talk about it in those episodes, but like when they kill people, it's just that standard kind of like MCU or PG-13 bullshit where it's like a bad CGI ragdoll of like a person just kind of falling over with like no blood or anything coming out, and or they kind of cut away and they never show anything. It's just all implied. So I think, yeah, in that regard, when you look at it from that perspective, I think this film is totally fine being PG-13 because it does a lot with it, and I think it works for both the tone and what they were going for, and with the budget constraints on it. I think an R rating probably wouldn't have been the best, as much as I would have liked to them see like do like even more fucked up shit, like, you know, with the pen and stare or like the more supernatural stuff. If they went full horror movie with it and had him like, you know, when he pen and stare somebody, they just like, I don't know, skin starts melting or doing some crazy shit like that, some Exorcist shit, that would have been cool, but I don't think it was necessary for the film.
Right. I agree. I mean, and also like this allowed like a bunch of middle schoolers to see it, which is exactly the audience that should have been watching it at that time, which is like what
Damn right.
Yeah, so I mean, I had a great time with it. I don't think we'll ever see the character like this again because, as we alluded to slightly, and this is like probably this, you know, it's a sad way to end this episode, but you know, we're gonna try and end it on a hopeful note. Ghost Rider went back to Marvel Studios and got put on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, and the thing is like, here's how starved we were for Ghost Rider content. You can go on my social media posts from back then, and I can look up. I'd be like, this Ghost. Like, I posted. I was like, this Ghost Rider is brutal, mysterious, blit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I was like, oh my god, they're doing Ghost Rider again. Thank God. So I was just like taking whatever they give me. But now with the benefit hindsight, I'm like, I mean, Gabriel Luna does what he can, and there's some cool like moments. But like, you telling me you took Ghost Rider and you put him on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I don't think so. I'm sorry, but that's just a bad idea.
It's interesting to go back to that time period because I remember that too, and I remember being excited because I'm like, oh shit, Ghost Rider is back and he's going to be in the TV format, okay, and it looks decent enough for what they had on the TV budget. Okay, cool. Unfortunately, he's only for like half of a season, and it's like for one story arc, and then they never bring him back again. And even then, like what's there is so fucking just TV style lame of just like the brooding, annoyingly like serious character character. And I mean, Ghost Rider is a serious character, sure, but Robbie Reyes, I think, is just like given. He feels like the edgy idea of what a serious character is supposed to be. He's annoying to a degree where it's just like, I get it, buddy. I get that the world did you wrong. We are 9 episodes and all you've done is just fucking complain about like a family member that's gone bad. Jesus Christ, man. And here's the thing. He looks visually pretty cool. I like Rob Reyes in the comics. I think driving a muscle cart, that's fucking great. That's a great continuation of the whole, hot rod deal. I like that. I think it's a great design. And I like him in the comics. But in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I'm bored by the character that they did. I feel it's a kind of a bad representation of the comic book version. And honestly, like... The most that we have gotten of Ghost Rider from that show was the 5 minutes they could afford for 3 episodes of him being Ghost Rider. And then like the little Johnny Blaze cameo they throw into 1 episode to be like, he's out there, but they never pay it off ever. And they're never going to, because that show's dead now.
I know.
They're never going to pay it off in the films, because if there's one thing I found out, it's pretty much that they hate Ghost Rider at Marvel Studios. So.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
It just look when they're dropping that rumored Midnight Suns lineup and Ghost Rider isn't even on there. I'm tapped out, man. Like I want.
What are we doing? What are we even doing here?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Like they were teasing a Ghost Rider show on Hulu with Gabriel Luna. It would have been a spinoff. I'm like, that would have probably been okay. Although you look at the Hellstrom show that they actually made as part of that Adventure into Fear or whatever it was called. Yeah. That's like pretty rough. Yeah. But I would imagine Ghost Rider would have had more resources slightly. The thing about it is, and this doesn't need to get into like a whole debate, but like if you're into Ghost Rider, like Robbie Reyes is like the least interesting Ghost Rider. Yeah. Even though he is always good in the comics, but like Ghost Rider gets less interesting with each incarnation, and I love Danny Ketch too. But it's Johnny Blaze. Like that is the most interesting. He has the most interesting backstory. Danny Ketch is great for the era he was in. Robbie Reyes is like interesting as just like a couple of years taking over the mantle. Yes. But it's not, it's just not the same.
Johnny Blaze can carry decades. Danny Ketch can carry a decade. Robbie Reyes can carry a couple like 6-issue miniseries, and that's kind of it. And that's been the case for the comics, honestly. And now Johnny Blaze, I think, is back as Ghost Rider, I think. I can't keep up anymore. But...
Yeah, of course.
Maybe that's a sign they're doing it in the films. I doubt it, but who knows? Maybe one day they'll actually like their mystical, supernatural, dark superhero stuff over there. I don't know.
You know what they'll do? They'll make it like Cosmic Ghost Rider. Like that's what it'll be. He'll be like a supporting character in the Silver Surfer movie. That's what it's going to be. He'll be the villain of the Silver Surfer movie. It'll be the Cosmic Ghost Rider. Oh, no.
I don't like you.
And here's the thing: I like.
Sorry.
Here's the thing. I like Cosmic Ghost Rider as like a character. It briefly just in that like little comic run where like Thanos wins. Like I think that's kind of cool. Like and so it's also Frank Castle. Like that becomes like it's a cool like just one off like incarnation of that character. But if that's like the only representation we got and it was just a fucking throwaway in like some godforsaken Silver Surfer movie, no, I would not be here for that.
Yeah, it comes. This is a whole other discussion that we can get into at some point, but there is an interesting thing to talk about when it comes to like, hey, wouldn't it be great if like the one cinematic interpretation of a character you get is actually representative of what they overall are, instead of like what this one specific bad run or just like a fun little one-off is. It's like if they were to do a Cosmic Ghost Rider and that's all we will get for the past 12 years and the next 15 years going forward, that'd be god awful. Like I don't want that. That is not Ghost Rider. That's a fun one-off, but that is not who Ghost Rider is, and that's all you're going to offer. I'm not interested. No, thank you. I hate cosmic stuff.
The cosmic stuff. I think I tweeted about this. Like, the cosmic stuff was always the least interesting part of Marvel to me, even though it features some of the greatest comic book characters that were created. Just as a slight note, like you were talking about, like, oh, it would be nice to have a representation of a character that just encapsulates it in its totality. Mm-hmm. I'm a Superman fan. And that movie is almost 50 years old. And I'm still watching Superman the movie with as big a smile on my face as I did when I was 4 years old. Yeah. So I'm just grateful. I wish Ghost Rider could have that. I wish Daredevil could have that. I wish the Hulk could have that.
For those characters, I would say in the future, it would be nice if we can get more of that. But I will say, I'm kind of happy with the Ghost Rider films we got. I'm happy with the Hulk movie we got. I'm happy with the Daredevil movie we got. These are movies that I think these are heroic efforts. They symbolize exactly what these characters are. They encompass what they are. They don't feel like they hate the source material. They don't feel like they're embarrassed that they're based on comic books. This feels like they love the material. They're going to go fucking with their whole heart into it. And that's what this whole show is about. That's what Ghost Rider is about. That's what Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance is. It is loving the character that you are given. And I highly recommend, if you have not watched Spirit of Vengeance recently, please do yourself a favor and watch it again. I promise you, in the era that we are now, you will look back on it more fondly than you did if you disliked it at all for whatever damn reason when it came out.
And I'll just button it with this. If the directors strapping themselves to the back of a car wearing roller skates isn't a heroic effort, I don't know what is.
Hell yeah. I can't think of a better way to end it. And with that, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to part 3, basically, of our Ghost Rider discussion. One of the best superhero duologies, I'd say, out there amongst all this cape shit. And honestly, go watch the original Ghost Rider, go watch Spirit of Vengeance. Both of these films slap. They're great in their own ways, flaws and all. They are rough diamonds, and they fucking rock. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for sticking with us after all this time and putting up with all the shenanigans. I don't even know how much is going to make it into the actual fucking episode, but thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe and share with everybody else. And with that, we will catch you on the next heroic effort. Later, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Heroic Efforts is a No More Talking production, all rights reserved.